Yo, what's up, everybody? Kenan Thompson here on the set of Good Burger, the movie, and we are at Mondo Burger at night.
In 1997, Good Burger felt loud, silly, and completely untouchable, like those young, energetic faces would keep laughing forever. But almost 30 years later, the real story is devastating. Behind the jokes and the fast food chaos were heartbreaking struggles that took a heavy toll. One cast member died at just 45 years old after a brutal battle with his own body. Another passed away at 52 from aggressive stage 4 cancer. Several others lost marriages, battled depression, addiction, and financial ruin, while some are still quietly fighting to this day. From massive weight loss complications and strokes to public scandals and silent heartbreaks, the price they paid was far higher than anyone imagined. Today, we look past the laughter to uncover who they truly were, the shocking pain they endured, and the legacies they left behind. Some inspiring, many tragic, but all deeply human. 1. Ron Lester as Spatch. In the wild fast food frenzy of Good Burger, one guy stood out as the ultimate rival, loud, cocky, and impossible to ignore. That was Ron Lester as Spatch. At just 27 years old, he brought swagger and size to every scene, turning simple burger shop rivalries into hilarious, high-stakes showdowns that had audiences laughing out loud. But behind that bigger-than-life presence was a story few knew. Born on August 4, 1970 in Kennesaw, Georgia, Ron grew up carrying a heavy burden. As a severely overweight kid, he faced relentless bullying in the school hallways, the kind of cruel laughter that cuts deep and stays with you. Food became his comfort, his escape, and eventually his prison. Those painful early years left lasting scars on his confidence and self-worth. Success seemed to finally arrive when he landed the breakout role of Billy Bob in Varsity Blues in 1999. The film turned him into a cult favorite almost overnight. More roles followed in Not Another Teen Movie, Popular, and Freaks and Geeks. For a moment, it felt like the kid who was once mocked had made it. Yet the very body that brought him fame would later become his greatest enemy. By the early 2000s, Ron weighed over 500 pounds. Desperate for a chance at a healthier life, he underwent high-risk gastric bypass surgery. On the operating table, as the surgeons worked to reroute his digestive system, his heart suddenly stopped. The room erupted into controlled chaos, alarms blaring, doctors shouting urgent commands, defibrillator paddles charged and ready. Ron flatlined. For several terrifying minutes, he was clinically dead while the medical team fought frantically to bring him back. He survived that day, but it was only the beginning of a long nightmare. Over the next few years, he endured 17 additional surgeries to fix complications from the massive weight loss. His skin hung loose, his organs struggled, and he became dependent on strong pain medication. The dramatic transformation made him almost unrecognizable to casting directors. The funny fat guy roles that had defined him completely disappeared. Isolation set in hard. The pain never fully left. His body, once a source of laughs and attention, slowly betrayed him until it could no longer sustain life. On June 17, 2016, at 9 p.m. in Dallas, Texas, Ron Lester was taken off life support and passed away at only 45 years old from liver and kidney failure. His estimated net worth was around $500,000. Ron brought so much laughter to the screen, but his own life was filled with silent battles, a bright spark that burned out far too soon. 2. John Schwieterman as Kurt Boswell. While some stories end in sudden tragedy, others fade quietly in ways no one expects. John Schwieterman as Kurt Boswell, the smug, power-hungry manager of Mondo Burger, delivered one of the film's most memorable antagonists. At 25 years old, his sharp delivery and arrogant attitude created perfect tension against the chaotic kids of Good Burger. Jan's real life had its own kind of instability. Born on September 30, 1972 in Bluffton, Indiana, he moved around a lot as a kid, making it hard to put down roots. Through the Boy Scouts, he pushed himself and earned the prestigious Eagle Scout rank, a quiet achievement that showed his inner strength and discipline. Right after high school, he headed to California with big dreams. Good Burger gave him his biggest spotlight, and he appeared in shows like Nightman and ER. He was always that familiar face audiences remembered. Even if mainstream stardom stayed just out of reach, off-camera, he built a private life centered on family, becoming a devoted husband and father who kept his loved ones away from the Hollywood spotlight. Then came the devastating blow. In early 2025, doctors diagnosed him with aggressive stage 4 cancer. The disease moved fast, turning months into a painful, private countdown. John Schwieterman passed away on February 28, 2025 at the age of 52 in Washington, Missouri. He left behind his wife, his child, and an estimated net worth of around $500,000. The once confident villain slipped away in silence, proving that real life can write endings more heartbreaking than any movie script. 3. Abe Vigoda as Otis. Not every story in the Good Burger cast ends in early tragedy. Some carry the weight of a long life filled with both quiet triumphs and deep losses. Abe Vigoda as Otis, the weary and sardonic fry cook, brought something special to the film. At 76 years old, his calm presence and dry humor grounded all the teenage madness, giving the comedy an unexpected sense of heart and gravity. Born on February 24, 1921 in Brooklyn, New York to a Jewish immigrant family from Russia, Abe grew up in a world that valued discipline and restraint. Early jobs and family responsibilities taught him to observe carefully and speak little, qualities that would later define his powerful screen presence. After serving in World War II, he used the GI Bill to study acting. His career reached iconic status in 1972 when he played Salvatore Tessio in The Godfather, delivering betrayal with chilling calm in one of cinema's most unforgettable moments. On television, he became a beloved legend as Detective Phil Fish on Barney Miller, earning Emmy nominations and winning fans with his weary realism. Life at home brought both love and pain. He raised a daughter, Carol, but suffered deeply when his second wife Beatrice passed away in 1992. That loss stayed with the quiet man for years. On January 26, 2016, Abe Vigoda passed away peacefully in his sleep at the age of 94 at his daughter's home in Woodland Park, New Jersey. His estimated net worth was approximately $1 million. Even playing a simple fry cook, Abe brought decades of real-life experience to the screen. A true Hollywood legend whose steady presence still echoes today. 4. Sinbad as Mr. Wheat. Just when you thought the chaos at Good Burger couldn't get any crazier, Mr. Wheat would burst in like a thunderstorm, yelling and shutting everyone down in seconds. That explosive energy came from Sinbad. At 40 years old, he played the short-tempered authoritarian teacher who brought real intimidation into the silly fast food world. Born David Adkins on November 10, 1956 in Benton Harbor, Michigan, Sinbad grew up in a strict military family that moved constantly. Emotions were rarely allowed, and discipline was everything. He turned that inner pressure into powerful stand-up comedy and landed his breakthrough role as Coach Walter Oakes on A Different World. Hits like Jingle All the Way followed, making him a comedy star in the 90s. Success looked solid until financial mistakes caught up with him. He owed millions in taxes to the IRS and filed for bankruptcy multiple times. The biggest blow came in 2020 when he suffered a massive stroke at home. He woke up unable to move the left side of his body or speak clearly. Months of painful rehabilitation followed, with slow, frustrating physical therapy sessions where he had to relearn how to walk and talk. As of 2026, Sinbad is 70 years old and still recovering. He makes only rare public appearances, often showing visible difficulty moving. His net worth has dropped dramatically to around $100,000 after years of medical bills and lost work. From the booming teacher who could silence a room with one shout to a man quietly fighting to regain control of his own body, Sinbad's journey is one of the most shocking falls from strength in the cast. 5. Dan Schneider as Mr. Bailey. While the kids ran wild behind the counter at Good Burger, Mr. Bailey, the awkward, nerdy science teacher, would pop in occasionally with his clumsy authority. That small role was played by Dan Schneider at age 31. A man who seemed harmless on screen but held enormous power behind the camera. Born on January 14, 1966 in Memphis, Tennessee, Dan started on All That as a performer before becoming a writer and producer. He created iCarly, Victorious, and several other major Nickelodeon hits that made billions. For years, he was untouchable, flying private, living lavishly, and controlling the careers of many young stars. Everything shattered starting in 2018. Former child actors and crew members began sharing stories of a toxic workplace filled with screaming, manipulation, and inappropriate behavior. The 2024 documentary Quiet on Set revealed even darker details, allegations of emotional abuse, forced uncomfortable situations, and a culture where kids felt scared to speak up. Dan denied the worst accusations, but the damage was done. Networks cut ties, and his reputation collapsed almost overnight. The public pressure also strained his long marriage to Lisa Lillian. In 2026, at 60 years old, Dan Schneider lives mostly out of the spotlight. Though his net worth remains around $40 million, the man once known as the King of Nickelodeon now carries a permanently damaged legacy. 6. Lori Beth Denberg as Connie Muldoon. Inside the noisy Good Burger restaurant, Connie Muldoon stood as the voice of reason, the sharp-tongued cashier who rolled her eyes and tried to keep the craziness under control. That role belonged to Lori Beth Denberg at just 21 years old, bringing a grounded, no-nonsense attitude that balanced the film's wild energy. Born February 2, 1976 in Northridge, California, Lori endured cruel body shaming throughout her school years. Classmates mocked her weight so viciously that she developed deep anxiety and used comedy as a shield. This led her to All That in 1994, where her vital information sketches became legendary. She later found steady work on The Steve Harvey Show. The deepest pain came years later. In 2024, Lori publicly accused Dan Schneider of inappropriate behavior when she was 19 on All That, including showing her pornography and making sexualized comments. She also said she faced professional consequences after speaking up for other young performers. Reliving those memories in interviews clearly caused her fresh emotional pain after decades of silence. Today, at 50 years old in 2026, Lori Beth Denberg chooses a very private life focused on healing and family. She stays away from the spotlight as much as possible. Her estimated net worth is around $750,000. The strong, confident cashier who kept everyone in check on screen was actually carrying heavy, hidden scars from her time in the industry. 7. Shar Jackson as Monique. Right in the middle of all the burger-flipping madness at Good Burger, Monique stood out as the confident, sharp-tongued girl who kept it real with attitude and quick comebacks. That character was brought to life by Shar Jackson at 21 years old, giving the film one of its strongest female voices. Born on August 31, 1976 in Boston, Massachusetts, Shar grew up as a biracial child facing discrimination and financial struggles at home. She learned early how to claim space in a world that didn't always welcome her. Her big break came with the role of Niecy on Musha from 1996 to 2001, making her a familiar face in black households across America. She also appeared on The Bernie Mac Show and other sitcoms, but never reached full mainstream stardom. Her personal life exploded into public drama in 2004. While pregnant with her second child, her fiancé Kevin Federline left her for Britney Spears. The very public breakup played out in tabloids non-stop, turning her private pain into nationwide entertainment. Shar raised 4 children mostly on her own while dealing with humiliation and media scrutiny. She chose silence and dignity instead of revenge, focusing on motherhood through the chaos. In 2026, Shar Jackson is 50 years old. She lives a relatively low-key life, still processing the emotional cost of that very public heartbreak. Her estimated net worth is around $500,000. The strong, no-nonsense Monique who held her own in the restaurant was, in real life, a young mother, quietly carrying the weight of betrayal under the harsh glare of Hollywood fame. 8. Kenan Thompson as Dexter Reed. Every wild plan at Good Burger needed a mastermind, and that role belonged to Dexter Reed, the fast-talking, scheming teenager full of big ideas and even bigger trouble. Kenan Thompson played him at just 19 years old, bringing charm, energy, and comic timing that drove the entire movie. Born on May 10, 1978 in Columbus, Ohio, and raised mostly in Atlanta after his parents separated, Kenan learned emotional independence at a young age. He started working non-stop as a child, balancing All That and Kenan and Kel while attending performing arts school. The pressure of early fame was intense, but he kept pushing. After Good Burger, he reinvented himself on Saturday Night Live, eventually becoming the longest-tenured cast member in the show's history and winning an Emmy. Success came with heavy personal costs. His marriage to Christina Evangeline ended in divorce, leaving him to co-parent 2 daughters while battling depression and health issues. The constant demands of live television and public life took their toll, even as he remained one of the most respected comedians in the business. In 2026, Kenan Thompson is 48 years old. He continues performing, producing, and mentoring new talent. His estimated net worth stands at approximately $9 million. The clever, unstoppable Dexter, who always had a plan, grew up to become one of the most stable forces in comedy, but not without fighting through real heartbreak and mental health struggles along the way. 9. Kel Mitchell as Ed. No one captured the pure, innocent heart of Good Burger quite like Ed, the wide-eyed, endlessly loyal cashier who believed in everything with childlike enthusiasm. That unforgettable character was played by Kel Mitchell at 18 years old, bringing warmth and physical comedy that held the whole film together. Born on August 25, 1978 in Chicago, Illinois, Kel grew up on the city's south side surrounded by poverty and violence. He witnessed friends lost to street crime, which left deep psychological scars. Comedy became his way to turn fear into something positive. After exploding on All That and starring in Kenan and Kel, he faced the difficult transition to adult roles, dealing with typecasting and industry pressure. His first marriage to Taisha Hampton ended in divorce in 2005, triggering a period of depression and withdrawal. In 2012, he married Asia Lee Mitchell and rebuilt his life around faith, fatherhood, and purpose. He became an ordained pastor and began speaking openly about mental health and resilience. In 2026, Kel Mitchell is 48 years old. He remains active as an actor, author, pastor, and television personality. His estimated net worth is around $500,000. The sweet, optimistic Ed, who made everyone smile on screen, had to overcome real darkness in his own life, proving that even the brightest spirits sometimes have to fight the hardest battles. 10. Marques Houston as Jake. In Good Burger, Jake was the energetic teenage friend full of youthful excitement, always ready to jump into whatever crazy plan was happening. Marques Houston played him at just 16 years old, bringing that fresh, innocent vibe to the screen. But behind the camera, Marques's real life was already heavy. Born on August 4, 1981 in Los Angeles, he was thrust into show business very early. While other kids were playing outside, he was on rehearsal sets and in recording studios. The sudden death of his mother from lymphoma in 1997, the same year Good Burger came out, hit him incredibly hard. He had to compress his grief and keep working while the cameras were still rolling. As a member of the R&B group IMX, he found musical success, then became even more famous through Sister, and the dance movie You Got Served in 2004. For a while, everything looked bright. But as an adult, his personal choices drew heavy criticism. In 2020, he married Mia, who was 19 years younger than him. The large age gap sparked intense public backlash and accusations of impropriety. Marques defended the relationship, but the constant judgment followed him for years. Fatherhood eventually brought some stability, yet the shadow of public scrutiny never fully disappeared. In 2026, Marques Houston is 45 years old. He now works as a musician, filmmaker, and CEO of his own production company, Footage Films, focusing on independent projects. His estimated net worth is around $2.5 million. The cheerful Jake, who lit up every scene in Good Burger, was actually a young man carrying the pain of losing his mother far too early, then learning how to live under the weight of public judgment as an adult. 11. Josh Server as Fizz. If you remember the wild, hyperactive energy inside Good Burger, then you surely remember Fizz, the loud, chaotic spark who kept pushing scenes forward with nervous, fast-paced humor. Josh Server played him at 18 years old, bringing raw teenage chaos that felt completely authentic. Born on April 11, 1979 in Highland Park, Illinois, Josh stood out early because of his love for performing. That difference came at a cost. He was bullied in school for choosing acting over more normal activities. Still, he pushed through and became the only original cast member to stay on All That for all 10 seasons, from 1994 to 2000. Characters like Detective Dan and Earboy made him a hero to an entire generation of kids. After All That and Good Burger, the big opportunities he hoped for never fully arrived. Work slowed down significantly. He shifted toward voice acting in video games and smaller appearances rather than mainstream roles. The bright spotlight that once followed him gradually faded into something much quieter. In 2026, Josh Server is 47 years old with an estimated net worth of around $250,000. He remains mostly out of the public eye, remembered fondly by fans of early 2000s Nickelodeon, but no longer in the center of the industry. The hyper, unstoppable Fizz, who brought so much chaotic energy to the screen, ended up living a much quieter life than many expected. A reminder of how early fame can arrive loudly and then slowly slip away. 12. Linda Cardellini as Heather. Even in a movie as silly as Good Burger, there were a few moments of real sweetness. Heather, the brief but memorable love interest, brought a sense of genuine warmth and sincerity that stood out. Linda Cardellini played her at 22 years old with a soft, grounded presence that gave the film a little emotional balance. Born June 25, 1975 in Redwood City, California, Linda's childhood was shaken by a serious burn accident that caused years of physical pain and left emotional marks. That early experience made her more aware of vulnerability than most people her age. Instead of letting it define her negatively, she channeled it into her acting. She broke out with Freaks and Geeks, delivering a performance that still gets praised today. Steady work on ER followed, and years later, Dead to Me brought her major critical acclaim and an Emmy nomination. While many from 90s teen projects faded, Linda built a respected, long-lasting career through persistence and strong dramatic choices. In her personal life, she has created real stability. She shares a long-term relationship with Steven Rodriguez, and they have one child together. Balancing demanding roles with family life hasn't always been easy, but she has done it thoughtfully and without chasing tabloid attention. In 2026, Linda Cardellini is 51 years old with an estimated net worth of approximately $7 million. She continues choosing meaningful projects and living a relatively private life. Unlike many in the Good Burger cast, Heather's portrayer managed to turn early hardship into a steady, successful career built on talent and quiet strength rather than flash and drama. 13. Shaquille O'Neal as himself. In Good Burger, when Shaquille O'Neal walked in as himself, the entire restaurant seemed to shrink around his massive 7'1" frame. At 25 years old, his cameo was pure spectacle. A towering giant stepping into the silly fast food world and turning every scene he was in into something unforgettable. Born on March 6, 1972 in Newark, New Jersey, Shaq grew up without his biological father and under the strict hand of a military stepfather. His unusual height made him feel isolated as a child, but it also became the foundation of his legendary NBA career. 4 championships, dominance as one of the most unstoppable centers in basketball history, and eventual induction into the Hall of Fame. Outside the court, he crossed into movies like Kazam and built a powerful media presence. Yet behind the giant success, his personal life carried heavy losses. His marriage to Shawnee Nelson produced several children, but ended in a painful divorce in 2011 after years of infidelity and distance. Shaq later openly admitted on his podcast how selfish he had been and how much damage it caused his family. In 2026, at 54 years old, Shaquille O'Neal remains a beloved television analyst on Inside the NBA, investor and entrepreneur with an estimated net worth of around $500 million. The unstoppable giant who dominated the screen proved that even the biggest stars can't escape the pain of broken family bonds. 14. George Clinton as Dancing Crazy. One of the strangest and most memorable appearances in Good Burger was George Clinton as the wild, funky Dancing Crazy character, a living whirlwind of color, movement, and unpredictable energy that injected pure funk into the movie. At 56 years old, he didn't just act the part, he embodied it. Born on July 22, 1941 in Kannapolis, North Carolina, George grew up in deep poverty and racial division, working young and finding escape in music. He went on to completely reshape American sound with Parliament Funkadelic, creating legendary albums like Mothership Connection that influenced generations. Decades later, he received a well-deserved Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. But his brilliance came with a dark side. For many years, cocaine addiction ran parallel to his creativity, nearly destroying his finances, his relationships, and his health. There were periods when the drugs took control, draining money and trust while he tried to keep creating. His marriage to Stephanie Lynn Clinton, which began in 1990, survived those chaotic times. In 2026, George Clinton is 85 years old. He remains a revered musical elder, though his body has slowed down with age. His estimated net worth is around $4 million. The wild, free-spirited dancing figure audiences saw on screen was actually a musical genius who fought hard against addiction and still managed to keep his legendary funk alive for decades. Some members of the Good Burger cast are still here, still creating and healing. Others have already left us too soon. Their real stories, filled with both joy and heartbreaking struggle, show us how complex life truly is. Thank you for joining me in remembering them. Which journey affected you the most? Share below. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.